I wish my brothers and sisters here in South Africa and around the world and all of humanity a Chag, Pesach, Kasher, Sameach. May we have a true festival and season of redemption and freedom. But what does it mean to think about freedom and emergence from slavery? So much so that the Haggadah actually says the words, God, if you did not take us out of Egypt then, in biblical times, then today, Meshubadim hayinu leFaro, we would still be slaves to Pharaoh. Today. But what does that mean? We don't have a Pharaoh. Pharaoh's moved on. We don't have an ancient Egypt that wants to enslave us. So what are we meaning by freedom and slavery? And yes, tragically, and we pray for such individuals who are really subjected to slavery even today, in the form of human trafficking, in the form of human abuses to other people, in the form of regimes that do not allow people to realize their aspirations in many countries around the world. But for most of us, we're free. We wake up in the morning and we can do what we want with our lives. We can do anything. So what are we talking about being free and emancipated? So let's go through some of the debilitating elements of our lives which enslave us in one way or another. We are creatures of habit. We are stuck in the way we've always done things. We often look at our future and say, we cannot move on and change because this is the way I've always done it. This is me. This is what defines me. We become so practiced and rehearsed in the way we do things that we repeat and we repeat and we repeat. Sometimes, tragically, we even become dependent on things around us so that our addictions do not allow us to escape the present moment. We are enslaved by imposing on ourselves the restrictions and the limitations that do not allow us to make the free choices every single day of our life because we're stuck. We are enslaved by peer pressure. How many times do the considerations of our lives and the decisions that we make become based on what people around us are thinking or feeling or doing? We have an essential need to be recognized by people around us. They determine whether we're happy or sad by the amount of recognition or lack of it that they extend to us. We look at their lifestyles and we say, how come I am living in such meager conditions when so-and-so is living better? And we enslave ourselves further through our credit cards, which become the tools of keeping up with the Cohens down the block. We live in the shadows of other people around us, and that too becomes an element of servitude and slavery. We have an enslavement of emotions that are born out of wrecked relationships, where love turns to hate, where there's anger, where there's resentment, where we feel done by, and we allow people to consume our hearts and to fill our minds rent-free every single day of our life. We wake up and we are consumed by the feelings that we have of being victims to other people around us. And that feeling hangs so heavily over us that we are enslaved with a heaviness of heart and mind. We are slaves because of our own self-doubt and apathy. We sometimes just cannot see ourselves as a success. We look down at ourselves. We only see our elements of weakness. And we become the chains that hold us down, because if we don't believe in ourselves, for sure, we're going to be unable to succeed. The indifference and the apathy and the lack of belief in ourselves could become such a debilitating element in life from which we need to be redeemed. And then there is the slavery that is born out of prejudice and intolerance. We look around at people and we divide and say this one matters and this one doesn't matter, and we build the walls which then become the isolation cubicles, evoking loneliness, being separate, having no ability to communicate because we have drawn the lines that don't allow us to interact freely between people, even if they have different opinions and have so many differences, because we allow them to overshadow the common humanity which we share. So slavery can come in the form of being inhibited by our own prejudice. And we have a slavery that comes in the form of our inability to dream, to have horizons, to say, lift our eyes and say, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I hope, this is what I can accomplish. We end the Seder night, L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, because we always end with hope. We look beyond the present predicament and circumstances and we say, tomorrow can be better, tomorrow will be better. I believe in a better tomorrow. And when we have the optimism and the faith and the belief in a better tomorrow, that lifts our sights, that gives us a spring in our heels when we wake up in the morning, not to be tied down and stuck in the elements of the past. And so this Pesach, let's tell the story of freedom, about biblical freedom, but let's trace it down to our every single day. Let's wake up with hope. Let's wake up with a commitment to a better tomorrow. Let us dream about the Yerushalayim and the future of the world completely redeemed. Let the matzah remind us that humility, that taking up less space, that being real and true, and not overindulgent in our self-praise, let that become the diminishing of ego, which becomes the catalyst for so many of these slaveries about which we have spoken. Have a beautiful Yom Tov. Have a Chag Sameach, and let us truly be free.